Hey everybody, H&I BBQ. That is a lot of letters in a row. Okay, so I wanted to say hello and thank you to Bill F. First, Bill. We call him Bakery Bill because most weekends he's got truckloads full of bread and desserts and pies. Bill's a pie guy, an H&I pie guy. That's Bill Fritz, and we love him here in San Jose. Welcome to the rest of the world. I am currently home and not on the road, only because of some travel cancellations in weather. I was supposed to be tonight the main speaker at the state NA Mississippi Regional Conference. Their region is a state. That's because California, we're spoiled rotten. In NA in California, we got 8 million areas and 50,000 regions and a whole bunch of addicts, and there's maybe 50, 80 something of us on this call right now. I say that to say this, that I'm going to do a comedy show here for you in a second. We haven't started yet, in case you hadn't noticed. And because I want to tell you about H&I and what it's done for me. I'm an H&I guy. I've never had a service position in Narcotics Anonymous. Never. I've never been a coffee maker. I've never been a secretary. I've never been a GSR. GSR, which if you're new means get some recovery, GSR. I've never held a position because I'm never home long enough to even keep a 3-week commitment, week to week to week. I travel. I'm a 4 million miler that's just American Airlines, and I've been given freedom to go to 15 different countries in my career and all 50 states multiple times. So my passion is H&I. I learned from H&I. I get to pass on H&I. Speaking of which, God bless you. We still haven't started a comedy show yet, but Terry, God bless you. No Hep C, no STDs. The hell kind of addict are you? I didn't know I was going to have to follow Jesus. All right, so what I want to say to you is H&I has been extremely good to me, and I do the best I can. At this point in my career, let's see, I got clean in 1988, and I started doing comedy 2 months clean. I was living in a halfway house in San Leandro, California, right out of Gladman Hospital, 5150, shake and bake, look and cook, tweak and peek, thump and bump street guy in a hospital lockdown ward program where they taught me that NA meetings were free. So I have the ability to go back into places. I've been to over 500 jails or prisons in 31 years. That's 500 different ones. That's not visits. That's different. Guys like Bill and guys like Buzz and guys like Steve M and some other guys I see on here, and women. God bless the women, Tracy and Snoopy and Karen and Karen B from Felton, all these NA predecessors I've had that said, hey, listen, if you want to go back, you never have to go back. So to stay out, I go in. That's NA. I owe, so I go. I always tell the H&I people, I go because I owe. Somebody did it for me. So out of left field here, former, let's see, I've been on Showtime, HBO, Comedy Central. I've had my own one-man play on Broadway in New York for a year, all because a guy got off the street and into NA, and NA was the doorway to a better way for me. I'm Mark, and I'm an addict. I'm a comedian by trade. That's what I write on my tax return every year, comedian. What I could write is if the line was long enough, and for an addict, the line is never long enough. What I could write where it says occupation is man with a mental illness who's done a lot of felony time and has learned how to market all of those things as skills so he could pay child support. That's what I would write on that line right there. That's the most expensive joke of the show. That one cost me $7 grand a month. And so I'm going to tell it, and I'm going to tell it, and I'm going to tell it. I'm going to get my money's worth. Now, every time I tell that joke at a female prison, I get women going, I fucked the wrong guy. So what I get to do is pass on what I know from who I've learned. And comedy has a way of highlighting hurt. It'll poke you today. Comedy does that, not Mark Lundholm. Don't give me that kind of power here. NA people are so fragile. and yet strong and resilient and consistent and committed at the same time. The oxymoronic way that NA people behave, it's my favorite crowd. Oxymorons or just morons, right? Oxymoronic, which means two words that go together, like that don't go together, like Amish electrician, right? Or clean addict, right? So, but it makes me giggle because the level of language we share is really powerful. And yet some of us, listen to how selective we are as a group. We've got high expectations and low self-esteem. That's not fair to the speaker, right? Highlight hurt, illuminate illness. That's what humor does. We'll find out how broken you are, about how pissed you are, about what you get mad at when you hear it. Comedy does that. It's not us, it's not me, it's not you. Comedy does that. It illuminates illness. So today, if I'm not funny to you, it's because you are broken. That's just the way it goes, right? Any speaker who speaks for NA has a great message. You will, you do, we can. Anybody who speaks for NA has a great message because they've survived their own thinking. So in the comedy world, I've worked with everybody. I've written for people you know very well. And NA has allowed me a better way, right? So I get to write for people who are vanilla, who are PC, PG. I get to write for all the Comedy Central roasts since Flavor Flav. That language is racist and brutal and horrible, but a lot of us speak a lot of different languages because we speak to a lot of different groups. I speak corporate, I speak adolescent, I'm fluent in female. I speak the other A when I have to deal with the, we're outlaws, they're in-laws. That's the other fellowship. Outlaws and in-laws, right? We know who we are. So we get to do things that are on a grand scale, big level, if we get out of our own way. But the selective thinking an addict has says, I'll survive years of physical, chemical, narcotic, and spiritual abuse, years of sexual, verbal abuse. And yet when I come to NA as a newcomer, you can hurt my feelings with a sentence. You hurt my feelings with a word. You damaged me with an opinion. I love that about NA. I love that about NA. We will say, I slept with my grandmother when I was 5, but don't say the word sober in a meeting. Somebody will run you right out of the fellowship. I love this family. I love this family. And I'm an NA. NA is my way. NA is my way. I'm that NA guy who tucks this away when I go on TV to do a morning show. I'm the NA guy that through anonymity, and I won't speak for you because probably when I speak for you, I'll speak badly. But as a comedian, I get to do humor-based presentations about really awkward, horrible, heinous stuff. Now, shortcut if you're a newcomer, and God bless you on this call right here. If you're a newcomer, I want you to know something. It's better to be a newcomer than a no-comer. When you come back, you just did us all a favor. And a lot of us don't make it back. A lot of us go out and use, and bottom hits us. We hit bottom, and when bottom hits us, we bury you. And we put you in an urn on mama's mantle, and she gets to outlive one of her kids who was too much addict and not enough human. Now, how does comedy help with that? During the comedy show, I get to talk about all kinds of stuff that's safe. And now, if you take this personally today, ouch. If you look at it truthfully today, yeah. Yeah, when Terry was talking in a comedy show, I'm always like that. I got that lens that says, "Oh, what would I have written? How would I have said it?" But it's very narcissistic. Narcissism is one of the languages I speak. I speak stubborn. I speak adolescent. I speak 13-year-old kid because I'm raising one. I speak great ex-husband. My ex-wife Julie has 25 years clean. She's a badass goddess, a phenomenal mother, and she and I know that there are no ex-kids in a divorce. So guess what we are? We're a team. NA taught us how to be a team instead of apart. So we don't live together, but we're a team. And so I speak a lot of languages. One of them is less selective. I want to be less selective. You know, addicts, we're the kind of people that get a whole bunch of tattoos and then tell someone we're afraid of commitment. We're the kind of people that will masturbate for an hour, but we never have time to floss. We're the kind of people we're the kind of people that will live on the street for a whole bunch of years, on the street, homeless, and then get to an SLE and say, my bed's too soft. We are the kind of people that'll flunk out of math class, but we could make a pot pipe out of a fish. Dude, last night we smoked salmon. The gills are a good carburetor. Normal people don't get that joke. Normal people think carburetor, there's a motor on a pot pipe. Those addicts are terrible, you know. Even people who drink alcohol as their primary drug, even some of them are judgmental about some of the addicts. You hear some of the old timers. I got old predecessors in my home group. My home group has so much clean time in it. They call us NARP. I get people who are so, thanks, Art. God bless you. I finally got Art from Palm Desert to smile. Damn it. I thought for a minute he was like a Lincoln statue. Right? I'm watching you guys, and I love the fact that you haven't left this meeting. I have abandonment issues, and I get very sensitive. But I find it amazing that through humor, NA can find a better way if, and this is just one humble addict's opinion. One humble addict. That's an oxymoron right there too. Okay, so through our opinion is in the traditions, right? We don't have an opinion on outside issues. I love that tradition, by the way. NA has no opinion on outside issues, but addicts got a lot of them, right? So, you know, in order to be to own my own stuff here, I'm a firm believer that if we can laugh at it, we can talk about it. Some of the stuff we can't laugh at is because we take it too seriously. Sexual abuse, child molestation, early punishment, physical stuff. I grew up in that house. I don't live in that house. The house I'm in right now is not the one I grew up in because NA taught me to forgive. Freedom starts with forgiveness, right? I didn't say condone or excuse or forget the behavior of other people who didn't know what we know, but I forgive. I didn't say forget or condone. I'm not excusing. Nobody gets a pass, but I get to change my behavior because it changed my mind about what they did. And comedy has helped me with that. Comedy has helped H&I guys. I'll go to prisons and jails and like populations where we're carrying the message, but nowhere in the 12th step, nowhere it says try to carry the message. It doesn't say successfully carry the message of people who always get it. It doesn't say what kind of addict they are either. Try to carry the message to other addicts. Other addicts, they don't have to know they're addicts. They don't have to be willing. They don't have to be flexible. They don't have to be teachable. I get to carry the message to other addicts. The 12 step don't say nothing about they got to be willing and love me and funny and they got to really get the joke. But here's some stuff that you and I get. Normal people don't get these jokes at all. I love going to a prison because it's my favorite audience. Where in a prison, everybody's innocent and all the stories are true. It's one of my favorite jokes to do in front of normal people because they go, huh? You ever watch normal people not get the language we talk about? We talk about words like, let's see, normal people, they talk about words like hope, 401k, retirement, grandparenting skills. You and I use words like allegedly, right? We are the group that has a very different language because we have a different history. Our rearview mirror looks different than normal people. Normal today means most, by the way, most. Normal means most. Most people, they don't have a silverware drawer at their home where every spoon is burnt on the bottom. They don't get that joke. They think, burnt spoons. Don't you have pots and pans to cook your ramen? Normal people, first time they did opiates, their name was on the prescription. Yeah, for real. Look at this group. Oh, it's not necessary, really. I mean, grandma wasn't using the Vicodin. You don't waste Vicodin, dumbass. What are you, new? Jesus wanted me to have those Vicodin. It was a sign from God. 3 weeks they're sitting in the medicine cabinet. Grandma was all done with her hip surgery, and I know how to use Vicodin. She obviously doesn't. Normal people don't get this joke at all. You ever get your prescription of 60? You pop the top, you take one, and now your first thought is, I'm running out. Normal people don't take a pill and then ask, what's that going to do? My disease isn't addiction at all. Not even close. Addiction is a symptom. It's a tumor of my disease. My disease is first thought wrong. First thought wrong, ungrateful, inappropriate, inaccurate, whiny, narcissistic, self-centered, critical, abusive, incorrect. First thought, wrong direction, wrong solution, wrong path. First thought, wrong. First thought, wrong. I can do one. I've been clean a while. First thought, wrong. If she likes me, maybe I don't have to work on myself. First thought, wrong. It's a beer. What the hell's a beer? It's a beer. It's hot. It's a baseball game. There's a beer vendor, and I got 19 bucks. I can have a beer, right? It's a beer. First thought, wrong. Newcomers? Well, I need to help them. That's why I sleep with them, right? Now, I didn't say I did. That's first thought, wrong. 13th step, carrying the message naked. We don't recommend that. Please. 13th step. You ever notice how the word relationship sounds like relapse and shit? There's a reason for that. Okay, so back to the show I wrote for you. Normal people, normal means most people, they don't need meetings either. They tell the truth without witnesses. They know that a 12-pack doesn't mean all of them right now. Normal people, they don't have this thought. You and I, first thought, wrong. You get a prescription and it says take 2 every 12 hours. You and I want to reverse those numbers right away. So if any of this makes sense to you, please, please, please know that we get to pass on with grace and humor and subtlety and patience to the newcomer who's in a hurry to get it right away. Newcomer, we can also call a nowcomer. Now, I want it now. I want it now. I want it chemical now. Satisfied now. A relationship now. All better now. Forgiveness now. Amends later. So what we can do is take this, slow down to grow up. And I've always found comedy to help with that. 2 stories about prison right here. One is behind the walls. I've been to that prison, OSP. And I went with Bill Fritz and some other people who are in NA. And I there's a video floating around there somewhere on YouTube, an hour plus show of me working in that prison. And I can't find it. I don't put stuff on YouTube, but it's always, somebody's always putting stuff up there. But there's a video right now of OSP and me and Bill Fritz and a bunch of people where it's an NA specific comedy show in that prison. And they were funny. Those guys were great because they know what it's like to really hurt. Not be damaged by a sentence or a word or somebody else's opinion. You know, sticks and stones. A lot of us grew up with that, sticks and stones. Any old addicts on this call? Raise your hand. Any old addicts? Okay. I saw Gar. God bless you. I saw Gar. I love you, man. And Gar's not old. I'm 61. Gar's probably 35, 36, something like that. But you know you're an old addict. You know, old addicts. Ready? Material. Old addicts. We go from acid to antacid. I can't quit. We go from PCP to all I do is pee. We go from those old pot smokers who go, wait, what? To just, what? We are those people, the old addicts, the ones who heard sticks and stones may break my bones. We heard push a peanut down the road with your nose. We heard trifle and hoe. We heard hip slick and cool. We heard quiet as it's kept. You know, we heard guys like Steve M or Freeman G or Freddie L or Lou P who said, hey, NA, you young whippersnapper at the men's meetings here. You know, NA is $1 million program. Don't make us shove it up your ass a nickel at a time. Those guys became sponsors and leaders, and those women became pioneers, and they all had a sense of humor. They all had a sense of humor. They all had the ability to laugh at what we're afraid of so we don't go back to. God delivered that humor muscle. You know, we've had a humor muscle since we were babies, a humor muscle. God made it. Atheists, hey, happy accident in our favor. Casual connection to truth and eventual epiphany. Agnostics, cool. I'm not beating you up. There's no fear of your place of grace here. But you were born with a humor muscle. Where'd it go? Cancer ate it away. Addict ate it away. First thought wrong told you it's not necessary. First thought wrong told you it's not funny. Thank you, Terry C. from Massachusetts, coming up on. God bless you. Just got a little text. Coming up on. That's how we say it in NA. coming up on? Got a little over our time. Nobody's just for today. Where's your coming up on chip, Terry? Huh? Where's your coming up on chip, Massachusetts? Where's your coming up on chip? You don't get to front yourself nothing. Sit down and be quiet. Now that's a 1985 version of NA. I hope, all right, please forgive me as we go. And if you're Christian, that's your job to forgive. You forgive because it's your job. All right. Now, what we get to do is play with things Sorry about that. I got it. My iPad's going out already. This is my second Zoom, and I got 2 more today. I gotta plug this in. Sorry. Oh man, this never happens while I'm on stage, ever. All right, let me see. What do we got? Oh, good. I'm so happy. You know what went through me just like now? I got excited like now, like somebody just dropped off the new bag. You know what I mean? I plugged in there and there's a bunch of power. So let me go back to what I was saying. If you took that seriously when I was yakking at you there, okay, I get it. Thank you, Terry. God bless you, Terry C. She just said, God willing, LOL. LOL, which means a lot of love, right? I know that what we get to do is laugh at ourselves so that we're not humiliated. Let me ask you a question. In the comedy business, who do you know? Who do you like? Who do you watch, right? I've written for Yakov Smirnoff. I've written for Dave Chappelle. I've written for people who are super famous and are friends of mine. Dave's a brother. Dave is clean. He's happy. He's successful. There's nobody funnier than Dave. But gosh darn it, I get jealous of other people. I'm insecure. I write as much as I can comedy-wise. But recently, Dave wrote a joke that is absolutely because he's Dave. And he's clean. He's a good dude. He's also really intelligent. This joke's been around for 250 years. I'm going to do 3 different jokes here and then get back to the prison story. This joke is 250 years old, and I didn't write it. I was mad. This is how jealous and petty and insecure I can be at 31 years clean and 61 years old. First thought wrong never goes away. I find that manageable level of cuckoo is the best I could do. Manageable level of cuckoo. It says in step 2, restore to sanity. For us, it should have said, introduce us to for the very first fucking time. Restore sounds like you have some. I never had sanity. So here's the joke. And he wrote this. Dave did. And think about how long this has been available and just sitting there, waiting for somebody to pick it up, scoop it up, and write it. Thomas Jefferson could have written this joke. Here it goes. First Amendment, freedom of speech. Second Amendment, in case the first one doesn't work out. That is brilliant. It's beautiful. And it was just sitting there. Guard, you saw that in school. You could have written that in school. I could have written that in school. Chappelle wrote it because God gave him an extra layer of lens, comic, funny, twist. Pain becomes pleasure. I have that lens. In NA, we don't stay unless we have that lens. Second joke, Yakov Smirnoff. In the early 90s, I had 3 or 4 years clean. And I got to Konocti Harbor Resort, which was this place open where they did big shows. Marshall Tucker and ZZ Top and Leonard Skinner and Yakov Smirnoff was performing, and they let me open for him. I was still living in a studio apartment down in Scotts Valley outside of Don Nofri's house, right by the camp. Don Nofri was an NA legend in Santa Cruz back there. If you know him, you knew him. And he was just, let me add this too. I wasn't going to tell you this, but Don Nofri, the night I met him was at the camp. I had about 2 or 3 years clean. And I was going to meetings every day because I was about to hit the road as a comedian and I needed to store up like a camel, some health, some hope, some grace. And I went to the camp, had an outside NA H&I meeting. I went in. And Don was sitting there. I didn't know who he was. And I sat next to him. Unbeknownst to me, I'm sitting next to this guy. He's got about 6 months more than me clean. And we made sure we all knew that because we're like ex-prison guys. So we want to make sure that we're walking our part. We're roostering up. We're roostering up. And in NA, a lot of us do that early on. We think we've got some kind of status to show off or maintain. Let me ask you something about NA membership. In an NA meeting, who are you trying to impress? In a group of convicts and addicts and street people, and if you're afraid to tell the truth, who are you going to disappoint? Who are you going to disappoint in a meeting full of us, right? Where standards are low, expectations can be low, and hope is high, right? So anyway, I'm sitting next to Don, and Don, some guy from the camp says, you know, I've been here 2 weeks, and I know I'm never going to use again, and I know that, I know my God knows, and I know, and Don stands up in the middle of this person's chair. Don stands up. This is about 1992, you know, about that year. Don stands up, maybe 1991, 1990. He stands up and he goes, you don't know anything. You just might want to sit down, and because what you know got you 2 weeks in a treatment center. I'll tell you what you don't know, what's going to kill you. You don't know what's around the corner. You don't know how to stay clean. You don't know how to stay stopped. You don't know how to shut up and listen. You proved that just now. You don't know a lot. You know what the difference between me and you is? I know what I don't know. It's still a lot. But I know I don't know. And I know that you don't know either. And he sat down. And the place went nuts. And I leaned over next to him. I said, dude, I love the way you talk. And he goes, so do I. It was one of my favorite people I ever met in NA. Now, he passed away from prostate cancer a few years ago, but I never forget him. And we live a life that's solid. We live a life that's solid and stable, and we get to pass on a legacy for people even after we passed on. I know that after I'm gone, and after Bill's gone, and after Buzz is gone, and after Katie's gone, people are going to still know, hey, those people really believed in NA because NA believed in them first, right? So the prison story, I was at ORW, Ohio Reformatory for Women. There were probably 300 women in that room. And they were all in chairs on the floor in the gymnasium. And I'm a male going into an all-female setting. Even the COs are all women. So I'm the only outdoor plumbing person in there. And right away I know, because I've done hundreds of presentations in prisons for women, I know that immediately walking in there, I represent some kind of trauma. I don't know an addict who hasn't had trauma in their past, 100%. Every addict on this call has had trauma, even if it's self-inflicted. I mean, who hurt you worse than you did the last 5 years? Who hurt you worse than you did the last 2 days before you got here? You're the perpetrator and the victim. That's a tough gig to get out of without narcotics, but NA will show you the way. So I'm talking to these women, and I said to this woman about the second row, I said, so what are you doing here, sister? What's your big case? Who'd you hurt? She goes, well, I didn't know what to do because my mom didn't know what to do. And I said, you ever talk to your mom? She goes, she's back there in row 6. Her mom was in row 6. So I said to this lady who was probably in her 40s, the original lady I was talking to, if you had daughters, what would you tell them? She goes, why don't you tell her? She's in row 2. Her daughter was there. Mom was there. Granny was there. 3 generations of women in one prison auditorium because we can't change our mind. We'll change our behavior so it suits us and we get slippery. We'll change our environment, we'll change our zip code, we'll change our jobs. If we don't change our mind, First Thought Wrong says, do it like you want, not like you're told. So comedy has helped me with that. Comedy will raise truth, raise trust, and lower shame. Comedy does that. Let me give you some of the new stuff, okay? I got a brand new show coming out in September. It's called Unmasked, Suffer in Place. And it's all about this, right? Did you ever think, these times, they've taught us a lot of different behavior. Did you ever think that you'd walk into a bank and you'd be the suspicious one because you don't have a mask on? Right? And COVID. Some of us are still, we're so old, we're still dealing with COVID 16 and 17. You ever notice how COVID will put us together and keep us together? And after a while, we get tired of being together. You ever wish somebody in your family would get COVID so there'd be more room at home for you? You ever notice how when you watch somebody with real poor boundaries, they don't care about masks, they don't care about distance. I was coming out of Safeway, Hamilton, right there where Hamilton turns into Pine. I was coming out of Safeway. There was a lady coming at me. We both have masks on. We both got masks on. and she comes toward me and she's on her phone. She's looking down at her phone. She's got her phone, looking down at her phone, and she doesn't see me, but I see her. So I walk right at her because I'm arrogant and I want her to realize she made a mistake, right? First thought wrong, I'm going to teach her something. She comes at me, gets within 2 feet. She goes, oh, oh. She looks up, she's panicking. She stops breathing. In her mask, I see the, and it stops. And I said, whoa, whoa, whoa. Whoa. She goes, COVID, COVID. I said, ma'am, don't worry. I don't know if you've heard, but if you've had syphilis, you're immune. And she ran. She ran. All of a sudden, it was unsafe way for her. She ran. Her car was behind her, Safeway's in front of her. She ran that way. As far as she was running at nothing, just to get away from me. So what I get to do with the COVID thing is you know, Corona. Can you imagine 20 years from now? 20 years from now, when we know everything that we don't know now, some professor is going to be teaching in med school and say, you know, 20 years ago during the COVID thing, we got it wrong. Turns out it was 7 feet apart. But people like me, we've been isolating for a long time. The Just for Today message was, we end isolation, right? We end isolation. That was part of the message in the Just for Today. Evidently, they wrote that before COVID, way before COVID. 1953, I guess, was before COVID. But there's a part in there that says, we get to end the isolation and we get to look ahead. We get to look ahead. So the joke I wrote today, reading that first thought wrong, in the Just for Today, it says, we begin to look forward to. We begin to look forward to. So in NA, it's just for today, except for August 29th. August 29th, you can look ahead. You can look forward. You can make plans, right? Otherwise, it's just for today. And Terry from Massachusetts coming up on, you get to look forward to today. So you're following direction. Just for today is a good way. The other thing I wanted to touch on today was if you are an old timer, kudos, God bless you. And an old timer for me is anybody with 10 years more than myself. That's how I stay a little bit humble. An old timer. I'll never be an old timer. I can be an old coot. I can forget. Here's a joke I wrote for Buzz in NA. Buzz said, hey, if you want what we have, you got to do what we do. I didn't know he meant dementia. Okay, so, yeah, right? Buzz, listen, the good part about that is if Buzz hears that, he'll forget in a couple of days, right? So he'll forget he was offended. So I know, I'll make an amends, Gar. I will, Gar, I'll make an amends to Buzz when I get a chance. Wait, yeah, exactly. Yeah, so if you're a pot person, you're going to have to replay this because you won't get the jokes till like Friday of next week, right? Pot people have this, wait, what? Everybody who smokes pot should wear t-shirts that says, wait, what? You ever notice pot people get the joke way late, like when they're not at the joke anymore? Pot people, you ever go to court and plead, I don't know, what do you know? Right? That's a pot sentence right there. So, if you're an old timer, God bless you. One of my first sponsors, Freeman G from Oakland, he said, everybody has a program. NA people have a program that says the NA way is a better way. NA people have a program that says if you work these steps, you get freedom before you even finish them out. I mean, step one's the only one that really works about narcotics. The 2 through 12, those are all about life and love and liberty and relationship and God and spiritual and help the next one. Step one's the only one that fucks around with drugs. Everything else is about changing the mind. First thought wrong to next right thing. First thought wrong. Sometimes I'm up at 6 a.m. and that's up at 4 a.m. It's been working on me for 2 hours before I even come to. So my first sponsor, Freeman G, he said, hey, everybody works a program. Yours is NA. Sometimes another person's program is fuck your program. We run into people who don't agree, don't ever acknowledge. And I get to the point where I'm just so grateful as a comedian to be able to pick apart things that I can make safer because they're funny. Funny has a way, God developed this. I didn't do it. I just speak that language. God has a way of saying, you know, if it's funnier, it's safer to talk about. If it's funnier, it's less shameful. If it's funnier, you can forgive faster. Let me ask you a question in a humorous way, I hope. When you look in the mirror, who do you treat better? Somebody you forgive and respect, or somebody you still resent and want to punish? In the 8th step, I was first on the list. In the 9th step, I was first to tell them sorry. And how can I change my behavior, Mark? Right? Funny helped me with that. I didn't finish the Yakov Smirnoff story. This one's one of the first jokes I ever wrote for him was we went to Russia and we looked at his home. And if you don't know who Yakov Smirnoff is, look it up. If you're new, there's a lot you don't understand. Not because you're ignorant. It's not because you're ignorant, honest to God. It's because there's references that are outdated for you. You K2 Molly bath salts bars and dabs addict. You weren't around for Banaka or Boone's Farm or Black Michael Jackson. You've heard of those things. We've seen those with our own eyes. All right. So Yakov Smirnoff, right? He says, this is my home. It was a 1-bedroom apartment, a studio. The kitchen, the toilet, everything is in the same room. His parents' bed in the same room. It's all a little tiny 8x12, it's like a holding cell. So I look at him and I go, what happened there? Okay, as long as you can see me, I'm good. All right. So I look at him and I go, dude, how did you ever have a sister? You know what I mean? How did you ever have a sister? Oh, I did that, I guess. Okay, let me turn this around. What did I do? Oh, I know what I did. Anyway, sorry about that. Woo. Hey, all right. Sorry, I hit the wrong button. I said, how'd you ever have a sister? Because he has a sister. I said, your parents in the same room as you. I got an awkward question, Yakov. I'd only been writing for him for about 2 months, and we're in Moscow at his home, right? And I said, how did you have a sister if you're in the same room? Your parents? He goes, oh, when my parents wanted to make love, they would send me to look out the window, and then my father would ask me, boy, what do you see? And I would say, our neighbors making love. He said, how do you know? I said, well, their son is looking at me. I wrote that joke for a guy who was really, really funny and popular and very powerful and very wealthy. And what I learned early on was an addict can contribute in the real world. The real world, where the real world. I know for us, real world is a relative term, but if you're an old timer, thanks for introducing us to that. Thanks for saying things like, hey, give me a call. Let me know how you're doing. Freeman G, my first sponsor, he said, I met him at Laney College in Oakland. I was a resident at Gladman Hospital. I was a 5150 guy, 5150 Van Halen album, because all those boys were from California. They're very famous with what crazy is. They're very familiar with what crazy is. 5150. I got t-shirts on the website, marklonholm.com. I got t-shirts on the website that say 5149 and a half. Don't push me. So I'm in Gladman Hospital, and I am I'm doing 28 days, right? And they take us to Laney College in Oakland. They van us over there, put us in the front row. Back then in the 80s, you sat in the front if you were new. They didn't let you sit up in the back where you could wander off or go outside or just kind of cherry pick the meeting. You sat in the front. They had NA greeters, which was NA police. They were the MPs of NA. And they had armbands up at the top of the rows of Laney College, and you couldn't get out. You couldn't use the bathroom. They would say, you finish the meeting, then you can pee. This was the 80s. This is the way it was. It's not that way now. Now we love you till you can love ourselves, and there's motivational interviewing, and please don't let us hurt your feelings, because feelings are why we use. But in the 80s, they said, you're going to do this, and we did this. That's the way it was. So Freeman, he's a powerful speaker, and he gets up and he uses all kinds of language that's inappropriate today. But I love the guy because he was serious as a heart attack. He was serious as colon cancer. He said, if you're not serious about your recovery, don't even look at me while I'm talking to you. You don't deserve to hear this message. That's how he talked. A big, huge brother from Brooklyn. And he said, I wear clothes and jewelry to let you know that this program works. And he had a purple vet, and he had all kinds of girlfriends. And he had all that stuff that was important to me as a younger kid. which I know now is just like layers. But he said early on, he said, if you're not serious, don't look at me while I'm talking to you. Now, I would never say that to a group of people. I will say instead, if you take yourself too seriously, it's your problem. I will say that. I don't want to be one of those people who takes myself so seriously you don't have to. I know that an addict that laughs is an addict that lasts. A clean addict knows how to say, dude, I'm an idiot. I'll say it first. You guys can pile on. But I know first thought wrong says, don't tell anybody where you're fragile. Comedy will automatically give that up. So this week, hashtag be first. That's a shortcut. Hashtag be first. If you don't see some out there, be some out there. If you don't see some peace and grace and forgiveness and love and hope and humor, be some out there. The world doesn't always provide. The world will give you a look at who you are like a mirror, right? So hashtag be first. Freeman said to me afterwards, I said, will you sponsor me? He goes, here's my phone number. Give me a call every day. Let me know how you're doing. So from treatment to the halfway house, San Leandro, Horizon House in San Leandro, 148th and East 14th. He said, give me a call. Let me know how you're doing. He gave me his phone number. I called him 62 days in a row. He never answered the phone. He never called me back. From 62 days, from the day I met him on a Friday at Laney College, 62 days later, he said, I heard, I remembered, I did. I called him every day to tell him how he's doing. And it went like this. On about the third or fourth day, I thought, hey, I hope I'm leaving the message in the right number here. This is for Freeman G. He's a guy, I heard him speak on Friday at Laney College. It's Tuesday, and I'm just checking in my fourth day in a row. I'm calling you from Glavin Hospital, and I'm still in a treatment center, but a really powerful message. And a fifth day. This is Mark again. I'm starting to get a little worried. I'm maybe leaving this wrong. I don't mean to offend anybody. I'm a Glavin. 6th day, 7th day, 8th day, 9th day. He got to hear things like, hey, I'm leaving treatment tomorrow. I'm going to a halfway house. Not that you'd be any help. I've been calling you. I've been putting faith in you. You told me to call you every day. I've been doing that. I don't know. Maybe this is the way you work. Next day. Hey, listen, motherfucker. Let me tell you something else. I called you. I trust you. I'm trying to change my life. Put some faith in people, and you dog me like this a whole 19 days in a row where you're not picking up the phone. Let me tell you something else. Man, I hope you're loaded right now. It better be the only excuse on the 20th day. I'm so sorry for the way I talked to you on the phone yesterday. I was out of my 21st day like I'm cool. Hey, man, this is Mark. I'm just calling to let you know I'm doing it. He watched me go like this for 62 days in a row because he was an old, thick-skinned Army sergeant that said to me on the 63rd day when he called me, he said, man, I watched you work me. Are you ready to work on you now? He called me back at a halfway house on a payphone I had to wait in line 2 hours to use. And he said, hey, man, I watched you work me. Are you ready to work on you now? 62 days in a row, I didn't miss a day. I haven't missed one since in 31 years. That's what we get to do. Because somebody like Gar, like Bill, like David, like Mark, like God bless Don H. Guys like that, women like Katie, Tracy, Julie, Roseanne, women who've been around a long time, men who've been around a long time said, listen, if you quit, you did that. NA never quits on people. NA is for quitters who don't want to start again. How is that funny? Well, turns out a lot of it is. Because if it's not funny, we don't even want to talk about it. Normal people, God bless you. My last one. Normal people, they're the people, they hear the word blackout, they think no electricity. They do. It's the only time they're powerless. I hear blackout. I remember the time I woke up naked in the massage parlor with a candy cane in my ass. True story. True story. It wasn't one of those little skinny candy canes either. You know those Christmas chubbies? I hate the holidays. It took me 4 years to walk next to a Christmas tree without turning my back. You and I get to change our lives one thought at a time. Grateful for the time. Bill, Fritz, I love you for asking me. I would do anything in the world for you, and you know why. Thanks, NA, for a better way. Happy H&I. Get involved.